I want to double down on, our mixed women, the most beautiful women. Barry said, "Yo, what's up, my broke boy? How you doing, man? I'm doing good, bro. How are you doing, man? Appreciate you asking, man. Appreciate you asking, man." So here's the first thing, right? And so people might not agree with me, right? People might not agree with me, but I just noticed in life that there has been like this huge attraction for mixed looking people, and some women will say, well, these guys like these women that are exotic, or whatever the case may be. I don't know what exotic is. Exotic can just mean different. But what a lot of people might disagree with is that I personally believe I personally believe and think that mixed races look look better than pure races, and the main reason why is that a mixed person has the best of both worlds. So for example, right, there's different type of mixed races. You can have black and white, you can have black and Asian, you can have white and Asian, you can have people from two different African countries mixed, two phenotypes mixed. So somebody mixed doesn't necessarily mean like a light person or a dark person. Mixed can be just a mix of different phenotypes. So I just wanted to put that out there. Now, um, what I noticed was that so it's the best of both worlds. So we're gonna use black and white for example. Now, a lot of people may like the features of, let's say, a white person, right? A white woman, right? Let's say those features might be like natural long hair, or her her nose, her cheekbones, or her light, whatever features, right? So let's just, what I mean, so it's people that like whites. Some people like some features of white people, and then there's features of, let's say, black women. A lot of men like too, the curves, the the full lips and things of that nature, right? So there's features that a lot of men find beautiful in black women. Let's say there's a lot of features a lot of men find beautiful in white women, right? So ideally, if you could have the best of both worlds, right? If you can have the best of both worlds, it's really a mixed person. So you mix those two, theoretically, you're gonna get the curves, you're gonna get the fuller lips, you're gonna get maybe the complexion, you're gonna get like long, straight, or curly hair. It could be curly and she can straighten it out. And so I know a lot of women don't like that aspect, but you know, it's scientifically been proven. And so I don't think it's a bad thing, because are how should I say this? Mixed people aren't the original people. Cheers, Danny. Mixed people aren't like original people or early people. Early people are, dark, black people. I mean, scientifically they say black people. The origins of man was in Africa. Caucasians came later, but and then you got Asians. But for argument's sake, mixed people. Let's just say it's a newer concept relative to, black, white, or let's say even Asian people. So you get the best of both worlds. Um, you mix someone from, a black and Asian. Some guys like features of Asians, and they may like features of a black woman too. And so when you mix the two, you get those Asian features and you get those black features. You know what I mean? So that's the point I'm trying to get out. But Danny said, if you want that DR and Brazil, if you want that, the DR and Brazil are your best options. Yeah, that's a good point, and I'm gonna get to that too. Salute travel lover. He said, which countries you miss the most? Man. All right, give me a second. Give me a second. So, uh, so when this Game Changer was on Razor Rays, and he was talking about like he don't see passport bros getting like very attractive women. I think it's a reason behind that, and pure race people. Let's just say Asian. We're gonna use Asian, black and white, just for this argument's sake, right? Let's just say pure races, like not mixed. So in every society, right? In every society, you got like a bell curve. So if you know what a bell curve is, right? For those that paid attention in math, so you have a bell curve, right? So the bulk in the middle of the bell curve is like the basically like the average distribution of people, and then you got like on the ends of the bell curve, let's just say like the upper 10% and the bottom 10%, and then everything else is pretty much average in the middle. So in an Asian country, right, you got you say in an Asian country, you got that, right? You got the top 10%, you got the average, and then you got, let's just say, you got the bottom 10%. And so those people that's in the middle of the pack, let's say in Asian countries, let's just say let's just say they're just a certain look. Now, if guys are only able to pull from the middle of the curve, or the middle of the curve, somebody like Game Changer may be like, well, those women are like a 5 or 6, right? What I mean, to not to him, but to a lot of guys, they may say the women in the middle of the pack is like a 5 or 6, right? Okay, cool. So let's spread that to like Africa, right? So same thing. Let's say with like a black nation, right? In a bell curve, the middle of the pack, the average is gonna probably be so. It's probably gonna be like, and I've been to some of these countries. The middle of the pack are probably gonna be like 5 or 6s, right? Same thing in, let's say, a white society. The middle of the pack is like 5 or 6s, right? Now, the cheat code is when you start going to these Latin countries and you go to the middle of the pack. Now you comparing the middle of the pack in Latin countries, because most Latin countries are mixed people, or mixed race people. So in these Latin countries in the middle of the pack, you compare the average Latina to the average Asian to the average black person to the average white person. The Latina on average looks better because she has the best of both worlds. Even in like parts of Brazil, there's like they have like a large Japanese population. You're gonna see some exotic Japanese mixed people in like Brazil, like especially like Sao Paulo. So this is why, when passport bros travel to all over the world, the most attractive women you typically see passport bros with tend to be from Latin America, to be honest with you. You know, and that's because that in general, most guys are going to attract average looking the average women in those particular countries, which is nothing wrong with that. Like even in the US, like it's difficult for the average guy to get what we would say a 8, 9, or 10, right? So in my opinion, everybody different. Some people say the movement as it pertains to women, that guys are supposed to been seeking 8s, 9s, and 10s. I don't necessarily agree to that. I would, what I mean, guys should just explore their options and find out where their best options is. But um most guys are attracting the average women in these societies. And when you compare the average women in Africa, when you compare the average women in Asia, when you compare the average women in Europe, they don't compare to the average women in Latin America. You know what I mean? Just to be honest with you, we talking about the average woman. I'm not talking about the eights, nines, and tens. You know what I mean? Even still, Latin America will still win. And I hate to say, I don't want to say it, but I hate to say it, but mixed women are more, on average, are more attractive than pure races. You know what I mean? It is what it is. People, you take like people that like to breed dogs. There was a study about that. People mix dogs, and the mixed ones tend to be people be the more attracted to. So I mean, I know people are gonna disagree. Um let me see some of these chats real quick. Comments real quick. You said you keep on talking about mixed whipping half black women. You never talk about half black men. What does that mean? The bell curve is about intelligence. Black was on the bottom. The bell curve can apply to many demographics. I mean, it could go both ways. I mean, I've lived in enough cities in the U.S. to realize that even a lot of black women are attracted to mixed men. I mean, it does go both ways. It does go both ways. I used to live in Chicago. They, women always talk about black men liking light skinned women and mixed women, but I seen it a lot from black women too. You know, um, I'm a person. I mean, I like beauty in all forms. I mean, I love a very attractive chocolate woman. I love a very attractive mixed woman. So, I find, there's beauty. Obviously, there's beauty in all shades. But my point is that when we talk about the average women in different societies, guys can get the most attractive women from Latin communities because it's basically like the cheat code, you know. He said, bro, here in Brazil, it's mixed of African, European, and Asian. There aren't any general racial categories. This is like beginning of Babel. No excuses, always keep it 100. We appreciate your honesty. I appreciate that. What's good from South Carolina? If he likes mixed women, so what? Mixed race men done want black. Okay, Obama, not the rule. Yeah. Genes obviously play a role, but a woman's lifestyle overrides how beautiful she'll be. Brazil comes to top because they are heavy into fitness, not because they're mixed. Fitness is part of it. I see a lot of beautiful women in Brazil on my IG. I always share the posts or whatever like that. And a lot of them do be beautiful just based on fitness alone. I do agree with that as well. Um but most of the women, guys, you gotta understand, like, men, the likes and comments on Instagram, you know, mixed women get way more comments and likes than like a pure dark or pure white woman. Mixed women get the most engagement on social media. So even traveling through Africa, which I still to answer your question, yeah, I'm still looking forward to, I'm gonna do Ethiopia one more time. I'm gonna do the obviously Tanzania is a recurring destination for me as well. You know, um, but when it comes to the topic of where our passport bros or why, where they could get where you would see them with the most attractive woman is typically Latin countries. Either genes play much bigger role than fitness. Yeah, genes. Yeah, even like I said, is other mixed races than black and white, right? Now, I would say just from Africans, right? A lot of Africans, they say that black Americans are very attractive, right? Men and women, right? They say we are very attractive. And I think the reason why a lot of them say black Americans are very attractive is because I think we are perceived as mixed as well. Because you can mix two dark skin. Mixed does not mean two different colors. Mixed means two different phenotypes. So let's just say you got, let me think of two dark nations. Let's say you mix somebody from Nigeria and let's just say Rwanda, Rwandese. You mix somebody from Nigeria and Rwandese, those two phenotypes, they're probably going to end up being more attractive than a pure Nigerian or a pure Rwandese. You know, that's my hypothesis. You know what I mean? Now that it did that doesn't hold true, like, because I've been in Uganda, right? Uganda Uganda had a lot of Rwandan refugees, back in the early '90s when they were going through when they were going through the genocide, and a lot of Rwandese and Ugandans mix. And so, like, I'll be honest with you, when I'm in Uganda, there's a lot of attractive Ugandan women, but when every time I see a woman in Uganda and, like, I'm just like turning my head, I end up asking her about, like, what tribe she from and where she from, and she end up saying, like, I'm half Rwandese and half Ugandan. So, like, just I'm how do you say it? So innately, what I found attractive was in Uganda was a mixed race. Well, not mixed race, but mixed phenotypes. And so every woman in Uganda I was attracted to, they just happened to be mixed with Rwandese and Ugandan. So that kind of furthers my point about mixed phenotypes. Man, I just think end up standing out more because you kind of get the best of both worlds. You know. So I mean, I know it's controversial. I know obviously people may agree or agree or disagree, but that's just my observation, man. And he said, if a beautiful woman doesn't maintain her fitness, she'll eventually become a 4 or 5. Kim K and Beyonce have maintained because they stay in shape. Yeah, I mean, fitness plays a part in anything, like a mixed. I'll put it like this, right? I see guys, because some people say a lot of guys a lot of guys will bash women out of shape in the U.S., but then they'll be with an out of shape woman in a different in a different country. You know what I mean? So I prefer a woman that's fit, but I've seen guys still gloss over a mixed chick that's overweight over a black chick that's overweight. You know what I mean? So, is that fair? Is that wrong? You know what I mean? It's just, people have their preferences or whatever the case may be. Even when it comes to Africa, I've heard guys say the only countries I'm going to Africa is if they look like Dominican or if they got that Dominican complexion. Like, they'll basically say they'll go to, like, or they'll say they'll be interested in women maybe like Somali, Sudan, maybe Ethiopia, Cape Verde. Guys will say, what I mean, guys, some guys will say if they go to Africa, that's what they want to see. You know, he said, "Don't forget to answer my question." Oh yeah, no, your question about hold on, your question about you asked a question about countries I miss. I mean, I miss Tanzania and yeah, really Tanzania and Brazil. Those are countries that I miss. So my traveling, my exploration is like I'm winding down on my travels because I've seen everything I wanted to see. So I just want to get to a point where I could, just talk about, more, talk about travel because I've shown a lot of my travels, so I want to just talk about it more. Black male celebrities always date light skinned women. Is that not racism? I don't think it's racism. Because racism is tied to economic. Racism is tied to economics. So to practice racism, you have to be in control of resources, media, policy to uphold one race as being superior and one inferior. That's racism. But having a preference, based on race is one thing. Having a preference based on race or based on looks are two different things. Like I said, some people, men and women, when they see something that look mixed, they just find it more attractive. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like it's like I could accept certain things, right? Like I grew up being like one of the darkest people in school, right? So I had to see like women having preferences or women preferring men that was maybe some shades lighter. Like, what I mean? I just felt like that was just it is what I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I just felt like, that's just natural. People have natural preferences. When I'm in Africa, you know, there's people darker than me. So it's like you know what I mean? So I got a lot of love there because it's a different dynamic. Some places I go to, they're not used to seeing dark people. Like, I may go in environments where there's a lot of white women, and they be like, the white women, they don't want the light skinned dudes. They want the they want the chocolate ones. You know what I mean? So everybody gonna have a lane. Everybody gonna have a lane. I'm not like a lot of I'm not like a lot of black women that wants to be the main. I don't have to be the main character everywhere I go. I know there's places that or groups of people that love my skin tone, love my race. And then there's places where they're not going to be too much a fan of my skin tone or my race. Like, I mean, it's not a big deal. I don't have to be the main character in every environment. Black male celebrities, not Colombia. No, not Colombia. Mixed or not, black men in Hollywood do that. Aren't you going the same thing right now? What do you mean, Sarah Washington? What do you mean? But you said time for you to settle. Again, right? Settle down part 2, right? Get it right get it right the second time, man. But you said you are using your platform to say mixed. I'm saying mixed women. I'm saying the data show what happened. I'm not saying that they're the best when it comes to how they treat a man. I'm not saying I wouldn't say mixed race women are better uh sexually. I wouldn't say they're the best cooks. I'm not saying they're the best mothers. A lot of times they end up being the most they end up having the most mental they end up going through the most a lot of trauma. A lot of mixed women, light skin women. Minister Jap did like a good stream. He talked about like basically like the melodrama of like light skinned women and how they're pursued at a young age, and they end up getting ran through, and they end up just they just end up like messed up because they were just so pursued early in life. You know, teen pregnancy, and so that's just in America though, you know what I mean? But I don't want to go off on a tangent, but saying mixed women tend to be the most attractive to most men is not saying that they're better, you know. Everything has a balance. You know what I mean? You could be with a very attractive mixed woman and she may not be, she might not be the most best nurturing or best or maybe the nicest or most talented, but you can be with a woman from a pure race and she could probably give you all those things. So you have to a man has to decide like what's more important to him. You know what I mean? Looks is important to me, but it's not so important where that's all I need. you know Marquis said mix ain't always light skin. Yeah, that's true. It's not always light skin. It could be mixed people from two phenotypes. I done seen some baddies in like let's say the country of is it Grenada? Am I thinking about Grenada? Is it Grenada? Whatever country is like south of Venezuela or whatever the case may be. I don't know if it's Grenada or start with a G. But anyway, those women are beautiful. They like black and Indian. They got them wavy. They got the wavy here. They chocolate. So like Indian and black. Oh, Guyana, yeah, Guyana. Whew, I never been to Guyana, but I've seen enough pictures and when I lived in New York, I seen some Guyanese. They cold. Whew, they cold. They are cold. But from a lot of Guyanese women I met, like a lot of them can have some bad attitudes. You know what I mean? So it's just like, you know, is give and take. You know what I mean? So I mainly just wanted to just kind of point out like why when guys say they don't see a lot of passport bros with a lot of attractive women in some of these countries, and I say that, you're not going to see a lot of passport bros with, I would say, very attractive women. I'm not going to say, when I put it like this, passport bros that go to Asia, I'm just on average, right? There are some guys that got some baddies. On average, guys that go to Asia, let's say Africa, you're going to see them with average looking women. And for some men, those average looking women, some guys are going to give them a thumbs up, and some guys are going to give those women a thumbs down, right? But what I have noticed when passport bros get average women from Latin America, typically most men give those women a thumbs up. So I'm gonna keep it like that. Yeah, Grenada. Grenada's in South America too, right? Grenada and Guyana. I don't know why I'm getting my geography, but it's some baddies in the Caribbean for sure. There's some. I never explored the Caribbean. I know there's a lot of reasons why guys never want to explore the Caribbean outside of like Dominican Republic.